Let's go. How you guys doing? Welcome. You can see my face. This is Dr. Paul. You may have heard me in the background. You may have not have. I apologize. I'm getting everything all situated so you guys could come on and visit with me on Healthy Mind. Every morning I am here discussing the Healthy Mind with me. And I felt like this was a great time to talk about how we can get through these things just a little bit better. And the reason for that is because we're going through a time that it is completely misunderstood. And what I mean, I'm not talking about the COVID-19, the virus, and how you feel about the virus and what you can associate the virus with, but I want to talk about the healthy mind, because I do understand how we are feeling in these times. And these times are, they're pretty stressful. They are pretty emotional. They are a lot of things. And what we don't understand about the healthy mind or the healthy system, and this is why I call it the mind, because the mind is a growth and developer. But we do talk a lot about the brain and the functions of the body and how we can heal in different modalities, because I want this to be able to be a way for you to process, a way to heal yourself, not just overcome something, but to heal yourself. Good morning. This is my coffee. I don't normally have coffee, but this is my coffee. So to heal yourself, and this is a process we're going through, because if we look at the words we're using, this is why we're going over communication, and we're looking at things that we're using, and let's go into that communication. We were talking about how communication is mostly, it's a transfer. It's a transfer from one person to another person. So we're transfer and receiving. So that is what communication is. And then when we talk about communication, and I talked about this yesterday, please go back to yesterday, the Dr. Paul Dyer Grandmaster YouTube channel, and you can see the show from yesterday, or if you just go back to yesterday on Facebook, or however you're watching this. But if you go back to what this is, a transfer, we're transfer and receiving. And if you go, we're ultimately, we are transmitters, right? So if we're transmitters, and we're always transmitting up, right? Right? Transmitting up and down, right? Because that is what we are. We transmit energy up and down. And this is where all this flows back into. So I was going to go over let's go over the broca. Right, the broca area of the brain, and this is where we're talking about how we communicate language, because communication, a lot of us, is language, and language is been studied for over 2,000 years. And then as I do more of my study, because I love science, and science reveals a lot of things, and sciences will always reveal, but it doesn't take the place of, right? It doesn't take the place of spirituality, it doesn't take the place of soulfulness, but it helps you understand how it is and where it has gone and where it could go, not where it is going, because only you can decide where it is going. So if I look away and I'm checking some of the things, I just want to see if anyone's questioning. Any questions? Hey, honey, my wife is on again. Thank you. You know, my wife's a nurse, and and all these nurses and all these people that we forget about. My daughter had posted something on her Good Vibes Saves Lives Instagram. She says, we forget about a lot of things that people get missed on who to thank. What bothers me about that is that we've missed a lot of people thanking for a lot of things every day. Whether it be everything, we are all made of matter, and all things matter. And I know it seems corny or whatever, but it is true that the many things that are around you in your environment. Think your spiritual self up. Think yourself out. Remember, transmit up and transmit down. This is communication. If you're transferring, receiving, and transmitting, this is important, especially in this time of need, that we are doing a lot of things that we are not accustomed to in this new shift, in this new paradigm, and that's important. So the Broca area, that's part of the brain that does a lot of our language and understanding. And then we have, so if we get into what the brain does and what the brain doesn't do in its visual cortex, our audio cortex, right? And then we have the amygdala, which we know is back in the brain, and then we have the Wernicke's area, right? I want people to understand this, and here's the reason why. I think we don't know that we have been studied to be moved or convinced. And what I mean that is, so if you look at modern day communication is for someone to get you to do something that you didn't know you were going to do. Yeah, and that's how modern day communication has been developed into, because the beginning of communication was developed into what you call behavior sciences, and behavior sciences were very important to people so they could understand the human development of how people were going to react or respond, because reaction and responding are two different things. So they studied the process, and they studied humans, and they're still studying humans. And we are the lab rats of the modern day age, and we are being studied. And if you look at Charles Sanders Peirce, one of the things with languages was that you call audible principles or abductive principles, right? And that has been studied, and that was in the 16th century, where he's studying the principles of the brain and how it affects your reasoning skills. 16th century, and even in the mid 20th century, they started the Galilean process, or the study of languages and how it affects our actions and motors and skills and our conductive reasoning. Things have been studied for the process to understand languages, not communicate. Communication was always about to control, right? Was it to convey, was it to converse, or was it to convince, right? A lot of it had just moved into convincing, for you to submit. So a lot of if you remember, if you're talking to someone, you're actually looking on a modern day communication. You're looking to someone's transferring information to you so you can develop into your receptors, right? So you can either acknowledge or not acknowledge. And that's how communication has been formed into, and that's how it's been taught. And that's how it's been taught in our modern day schools in the 20th century. So it was more to relay what someone wanted you to know. So that's important. So education, environment. You remember I talked about the 5 E's and the blocks that we have in education, environment. Education is something you're taught. But, and I got this question yesterday. I get it, and they said, well, Dr. Paul, aren't you giving education? I said, no, I'm giving you information. And there's a difference. I want this to be information. Information is different than education. The reason why information is different than education is because this allows you to formulate, you to develop, you to grow with what you take, what you don't take, what you have, It's a choice. Information gives you a choice. And in this choice, we have that it's important for you to understand how you're being transferred, what's being transferred into you. And before I get into the brain, one of those things I was talking about yesterday is that, what about love? Because when we talked about communication, and this has come up a lot, is that love. Let's go back to what's going to make this a little bit better, or what's going to heal this. Love is going to complete all this. Pure love. And I shouldn't have to put pure love, because love is pure. It isn't dictated by this or that. You either love or you don't. I personally don't believe there's different types of love. You love or you don't. You may show love differently, but you either love or you don't. You can be kind and you can be unkind. You have to learn to be compassionate, but you either love or you don't love. And love will clear a lot of this type of cloudiness in communication, because we will hear with our auditorial, with our visual, with our touch, where all our brain sensors, it would be so open, right? You got to look at it when a flower becomes to rain, it just opens up completely. Just let all rain, and information's all rain. Okay? Information's all rain. That's all that is. We are just gathering this information and allowing it to soak. And that is pure love, and how it transmits in us. That is what love does. That is what love will do and can do. Because if we look at something differently other than love, and we look at what our perception is and how we are filtering, because if all information is transmitting, then how are you filtering it? And I think this is what's going on when you hear a lot of these words, as in these long words, crisis, right? These are long words called crisis. It is getting you to block a lot of this, because you remember, if you are emotionally disconnected from how it's affecting you, let's go with this. Let's do this. Did you know? Let's go. Anger affects your liver. Okay? Anger affects your liver. Grief. You know what grief affects? Your lung. Worry. Stomach. Right? Stress. Heart. Fear. Kidney. Look at it. That is what it affects. That is what it blocks. And if you remember the last thing we talked about when we did the emotional mind, the wise mind, the rational mind, and how your brain gets your bronchial area, the wiki area, your pituitary, your visual, all these different types of brain. Because remember, the brain is a processor. That's what it does. So if you're feeling this stuff and it's processing, and we're going back into the hormones level, this is what's affecting. There it is. The body can it recover? That's why I want you to understand the healthy mind. Because if you understand the healthy mind, you understand how this can clear this up. And this has a lot to do with communication and a lot of the things that you are hearing, seeing, smelling, all your informational touching, your environment, the things that are being taught to you. So when they look at communication, remember, do you know who Edward Bernays is? And I probably pronounced it wrong. Edward Bernays was one of the chief instructions of the way we communicate and the way government communicates to us. Now, Edward Bernays is probably most famous known for influencing women to smoke. Now, he was a chief instructor of how to influence people. And one of the things about Edward Bernays that's most scary is that he got women to smoke by certain ads and commercials. And they've used all that. They've used how the brain how stress and emotions and things affect our brain and our body. It disconnects us from a lot of things surrounding us. And that's why love will stop all this. That's why when they talk about you being awakened, you being tapped into your internal self. So because you remember, one of the things is 90% is internal communication, right? All the things that you have learned, that this is science, okay? Before the age of 8 years old, you are doing 80% of subconscious. So subconsciously, everything you've learned up to the age of 8 is 80% subconsciously. Most of your 92% of that 92% of that is what we use on a daily basis. So 92% of 80% of your subconsciousness is running your life. And 90% of communications is all internal. This is why they say if once they get you to pre-program yourself, and communication, if it's used to control you, that means it's used to build a construct over you. It's used to build a construct. And that construct is building those barriers. Those barriers are built in anger, grief, worry. We're grieving. We're grieving on the world that we may once have known and once thought it was going to be, and what it's changing to be. We're grieving. And if we're grieving, that means we're grieving fear. We're having stress and worry. Some of us is getting angry. And then it's fear. And look at the body. It's affecting you. It's affecting you. Remember, if it's affecting your stomach, which is our second brain that goes back into the vagus nerve, this is important. All this. So healthy mind is about communication. And it's about the transfer and receiving. And if we were transfer and receiving, I was going to talk about the different brain functions of the Broca, the Wernicke, the visual cortex. But you remember, I want to get into why this all started. This is about love, understanding how the things and the words and this life process that we're in, this new paradigm that we're in, is affecting us. And I think the words they're using specifically, they're doing it on purpose to create a fear, an anger, a grief, because this is how we affect our emotions. Remember, yesterday I talked about interpretation, and if your interpretation's causing fear, anger, grief, worry, and stress, it's affecting your kidney, liver, lungs, stomach, and heart. 80% of it is up to 8 years of age. 80% of all the things you're acting on right now was learned up until from 0 to 8. And that's all subconsciously. 90% of what we are communicating with is all internal. 92% is everything we've learned from the age of 8 that we're just regurgitating in a different format. This is important. Education, things that someone taught you. You have the ability to change all this. This is important. This is why I'm teaching you the healthy mind. This is why I'm going over the healthy mind, because it is important. It's so vitally important for you to be healthy. I just want to check to see if there's anyone have any questions to this morning. If not, I just want I'm sorry. I didn't get off topic, and I wanted you to understand that love will clear all this up. Love will help you understand how this is purity. Align yourself with love vertically in your spiritual self and internally, right? Because you're transmitting. And as you're transmitting, only love. You don't have to say pure love. You don't have to say sacred love. You don't have to say agape love. None of those words. You're falling into the weeds when it comes to it, because love is what it is. You either love or you don't. You can be kind. You can be unkind. You have to learn to be compassionate. But once you love your internal self, then there is no subject. Yes, we don't love differently. We just love. We show love differently. There's a difference. But we love. And love means to trust. Love means to have faith. Right? Not belief, because belief is a wish. Right? We talked about that before. Belief is the Greek word, changes into wish. Trust. Right? Love. If you believe in your spiritual practice and you believe in your God and you believe in all things, it didn't say, sort of love, kind of love, kind of be kind. No, it means to love. Show love. Be love. Give love. Accept love. Accept love from yourself. Accept love that you give. I know I don't want to get into a little rambling. And remember, I just want to keep this short and sweet. And thank you for joining me every morning here at 7 a.m. We're going over the healthy mind. I'll go back into this. I'll get back into the science part of this. But something was on my heart about love, and it came up a couple times yesterday, and I wanted to share that with you. If you have any questions, that you share this and watch it again, and you have any questions, please put it in the comment box, or you can just hit me up at. You can just hit my website up, and you can put it in there, and drpaulholisticscience.com, and you can reach me there, and we'll get more into this, because understanding where we are living and how we're living in this new paradigm and in this new shift that we're moving forward is to understand yourself, and that gives you the healthy mind for you to process that, and that's important. I wish you all good luck.
So one of the things I want to continue to talk about is that we as people have the opportunity here on all things and all specs, and that was my show I did today on the communication.
Well, absolutely. The communication are just not taking this as serious as we hope we're taking it.
Yeah, just not as seriously as taking this what we're supposed to. And one of the things that we fall a trap into is trusting ourselves and trusting what we can be. And I want you to take some of the education. You can always watch some of the things I have done visually on Dr. Paul Dyer, Grandmaster, on my YouTube channel. So I wish you well, good blessings, and good day, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.